Oh, that is absolutely beautiful. The way the strawberry bursts through the water. Defo scran it.
Well, welcome to episode 7 with me, Elliot, and Stephen. So, Stephen, how's your weekend been and how are you?
That's been all right. Watched some rugby. Obviously started off on Friday night. Nice early kick-off at 5:30 before the France-Scotland game, which we'll go into later. Yeah, it's been all right. Not really much to do, but we're getting closer. And when you'll be watching this is when most grassroots sports will be back playing. So all those rugby players will probably be... What time does this come out? Does this come out at 6?
Yeah, 6 on Monday.
Yeah, so most our rugby players will be getting ready for their week sessions, or if they're going on a Monday session, then they'll either be ready or we're not going to go. So it'd be interesting to see. Let us know if you're worried or you look forward to getting back into it, because I, for one, I don't know about you, Elliot, if you've got plans to get back into refereeing, but I'm certainly excited to get back into both codes and to touch. So it's going to be a lot of sessions a week, but something we live for and something that's going to be back. Anyway, I've ranted a bit then. How's your weekend been?
Yeah, it's been all right. Like you said, not really much to do. A few walks, weather permitted, and mainly a bit of rugby and a nice little self-trim yesterday.
It's really good.
Some point.
It's on point. What do you want to start with? Should we say first, thanks for all the support on the videos. It's already episode 7. We've already recorded episode 8 ready for Wednesday. Somehow we're still going. You lot are still listening. We appreciate the support on like all the socials. We're still growing. Like every day we're still getting like more and more people come and visit the page, which I think that's just from people sharing. And yeah, we're growing. We've got some pretty exciting links for the future, which we can't reveal now, but we will probably in the near future. But all scores will be put on the Instagram. It should be by the time this episode's already out, if Elliot's on that. Depends how he's feeling. But shall we talk about the first game we're going to talk about anyway, which is France versus Scotland?
Yeah, so France losing right at the end, 23-27 to Scotland. What a match that was.
No, it was class. Obviously, everyone forgot because everyone's like, oh, Wales need to... What if... Obviously, all the topic around what France needed, but obviously Scotland came through and Wales won the Six Nations, which congratulations to them. I guess they've probably been the best team. Obviously, had some probably luck along the way, but as most rugby teams now, I think just off the topic of the game, more with rugby union, I think the game's kind of not losing a bit, but I feel like the game's more based on cards now, and it's not based on actual playing rugby, which I think it was quite nice. Scotland winning, because I think that was probably one of the most exciting games I've watched in a while. Obviously, that try at the end, what a finish. I think Duhan van der Merwe is putting a claim in for his spot for the Lions. Obviously, there's the Finn Russell red card, which I think your talk to us about, because obviously Andy Good and stuff on Twitter said it's not fair. And Andy Good's quite opinionated on Twitter and obviously disagrees with a lot of the referees' decisions, which is fair enough. Everyone's allowed an opinion, but I guess there's laws to follow at the end of the day. If you want to talk about the Finn Russell incident.
Yeah, so pretty much as Wayne described on the day. He was leading with his forearm away from his body, and it went into the neck head area. So by law, there's only one outcome, and that's a red card. And again, it all comes down to that safety element. The World Rugby are trying to bring in that to protect players for the future. And like we said, when this all came about, this is going to happen. We are going to get a few cards here and there, but at the end of the day, it's players still adjusting, and you just can't lead with a forearm anymore.
Exactly, I think
like that for a friend.
Well, quoting what Healy and might be Delalio said on comms today, I think there'd been over 15 yellow cards before the Tigers game started. Yesterday for the listeners. And I think there was 2 more in the Tigers game, so I think that takes 17 with 3 red cards, which obviously players aren't learning. I know some of them are for team penalties, and they're obviously always in the game, but I think there's still so many red cards at the minute, and I don't know why players just can't tackle lower, really. But We
I
don't
know
want to bore everyone.
Borthwick came out. I know to the Leicester radio station, stating that after the red card to Cobus, that they are working on tackle technique and stuff, so they can limit the red cards, because like any team, red cards can be damaging as well as yellow cards, really. But you know, if you can avoid them and also protect the opposition players, you know,
it's hard because I feel like all we're talking, and for the people like the loyal listeners who will listen every week, feel like all we talk about is cards, but it feels like that's all what's going on in the game. It's the main talking point, so it's hard to avoid. And obviously, we don't want to bore people by talking about cards, but hopefully players learn. And it tends to be the same with all rules. Rules tend to be, it's the same with the feeding in the scrum. That was quite strict at the start, and then halfway the season it started either players adjusted or the referees just didn't really care about it as much. Hopefully we get further in that. Hopefully the referees still can. Hopefully the players adjust. But I think enough on that, really. Overall, the game was quite entertaining. I think it's nice to have a game where another team are chasing like a scoreline to get. I think it kept that really exciting. I think France is weird because I was like thinking, yeah, France are likely to win the World Cup, the next World Cup, and they're one of the strongest teams. But I don't think they didn't really perform. I think Scotland were just up for it and obviously deserved the result. I think it was their first win in France in years, which I think is quite nice.
Was it 1999 or something like that?
Yeah, stupid years ago. But I don't even know if that was good for Scotland. Obviously, England are fifth. We don't talk really about England because obviously that was just a tournament we forget about. And talking about England, big tour. They've just announced it. Where's it to?
America and Canada.
America. So we'll just throw some names. Let us know in the comments who you think will be in the squad. I'm thinking you've got the youngsters who are breaking through. So you've got Bevan Rod at Sale, 21-year-old Lucid. Very exciting. I reckon he could easily get a spot on there. I think you'll get it. Yeah, I think it depends who goes on the Lions tour. I think there'll be quite a few, but I think we're going to need players to fill that. So I think George Martin could potentially get a starting spot for England there. Freddie Stewart, like you said, Jack Van Portfleet, Rafi Quirk, Curtis Langdon. Hopefully Harry Thacker's fit by then, because he could easily have a tour. Because obviously he was probably one of the most informed hookers before he got his big injury.
A Dogger as well might get his chance as well.
Fingers crossed he starts.
Not getting his cap at the Six Nations.
He came on obviously for Wasps, which was a weird game. They played Sale at Wasps. Obviously lost narrowly, but Sale had 4 yellow cards in the second half alone, which is pretty mental, I think. Just England's summer tour. I think it's going to be a really exciting one to watch. I think we had one back a few years ago when they went to Argentina and they sent a bit of an inexperienced squad. That was really entertaining. So hopefully we get to see some.
I think for Eddie, it's a crucial time. I think obviously Six Nations was a huge wake-up call for him, and he realised, you know, maybe going with his chosen team that's worked for a couple of years, which is now on the fall, that potentially it's now time to bring in a few new players. And like I said, it's a crucial time for him to actually start testing new players that he can bring in.
Exactly. Like for me, I think Joe Launchbury deserves to go on the Lions tour, but I think he could have potentially gone on the England tour and captain it. Obviously, it depends who's retired. Like you could easily sound like Jay Marler, but he's probably won't want to go, I don't think. So he's like, so I was listening, this is a bit of a tangent, but I was listening to the Quins game and the commentator saying, will Danny Kerr potentially go on the Lions tour? The scrum half position is probably one of the most undecided positions for the Lions, and Danny Kerr is probably one of the most informed scrum halves at the minute. Will he go even though he's not playing for England? I think that's quite an interesting topic, and potentially soon we'll have a Lions special where we just dedicate the episode to Lions. Our 15, obviously we talked about that a bit, but we'll go more in depth of why and who. But who may go? Warren Gatland might choose, Marcus Smith might choose plays just to be against Eddie, really. But talking about rugby, Super League returned this weekend. So for any Super League listeners who are still listening, maybe one or two of you, hopefully we'll get a league guest on in the future just to educate Elliot just about the game, where the game's going, if the game's growing in the right direction. But I think the Challenge Cup's been on the last few weeks, so we've got to see, that's been on BBC iPlayer, which is obviously we had a really good episode with CC Saracens play, which episode will be out on Wednesday, where we talked about the adversity of like a women's rugby player, how hard it is to get media pushed, which I think is the same with rugby league. Obviously, we have to watch the games on the BBC iPlayer on the red button for the Challenge Cup, which is like the Challenge Cup is the equivalent to the FA Cup in football for people who understand it that better that way. But yeah, Super League's back back this weekend, so the weekend just gone, and we'll definitely get the scores put on. And if anyone's interested, drop us a message and get on, I guess. Elliot, I assume you've got nothing to add to Super League.
I've got nothing to add to Super League, Stephen.
Yeah, not surprising. So talk about Cece. Obviously, probably like such an interesting guest.
Promising player as well.
Yeah, and it's quite nice because we're still bouncing ideas off each other now. We've potentially got some really exciting plans for the future to do with each other.
Just stay tuned.
Yes, and we're definitely going to get her back on again because we need her. She carried us through that episode, didn't she, Elliot?
She did. I promise I was a very good interview on that day, and just better than Stephen.
She just showed us up. She was just much better than us.
To be fair, you two were in a good convo and getting good
content.
Good content out of each other, which was good, especially for people that are not really close to women's game, just to shed more light on it and again get more insight into what it's like being a Premiership women's player.
Well, obviously Saracens played Quins, and I'm not going to completely just copy what she sent us, but obviously she was watching the game as it's her club, and she basically just explained it was a draw, and she basically explained it was like a tough and close call. Saracens knew it wasn't going to be an easy match, but in her performance, Poppy Cleal deserved a Player of the Match award. And see how I've done that. Is it a segue? Is that the right thing to use? It's definitely a segue, isn't it? Great segue here by Stephen. Talk about women's game. We're moving on to the Women's Six Nations, which we talked briefly about with Cece. But obviously, we were talking about other things and we got distracted, so we didn't really get to talk about that much. So, obviously, the squad's been announced. Proper exciting squad. There's not a 15 that I could probably choose from it. I think there's lots of players who could be involved, which I think is perfect for the sport. A lot of new caps.
New blood into the Six Nations, ready for the Women's World Cup.
Big.
And players that are in form as well.
Just on the talk of the Six Nations, do you want to just give us who's the first game for England? Because obviously there are other teams, but we'll focus just on England, really. Who's the first game for England?
I think it was Scotland. It's
Scotland?
Scotland at Castle Park.
Doncaster's ground, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, we have high expectations for the women's side because we know how good they are. For me, England should win every single game they've got. I just want to see the same rugby we play for England, get the ball to that back three. If that back three will be Breach, Dowan, Kildun, like no one's stopping us in that back three. And that's pretty exciting times. Depends who we play at 10. Might play Helena Rowland, class player, tearing it up at Lightning at the minute. But yeah, I'm expecting. Who's the second and third game? Do you know?
Second game is Italy away, and yeah, it's just 2 games.
Was it 2 games?
Yeah, and then it goes straight into the semis and stuff.
So I'm thinking, if all thing goes right, obviously we're not experts on the competition structure. We think it should be an England-France final, which France do everything right at women's games. They have like a crowd of like 20,000 people. They just do like, it's just very entertaining, especially when England play them. That's probably like our biggest test in the Six Nations. But obviously every weekend we'll have a little roundup of the women's games. We'll put the scores on the Instagram and the Facebook. If you haven't followed or liked them, I don't really know what you're doing with your life, to be fair, if you haven't followed or liked them. Elliot, what do you think about it? Yeah, exactly. What are you doing with your life? Because we post some quality content. Yeah, we use quality as a loose word.
Yeah.
So normally, Elliot, is there anything you want to add before we move on to our fun round or whatever? We need to come up with a name for it.
No, just touching on the women's game. Obviously, Wales team have got a new head coach in. They're
Great
also
Warren Abraham.
Class coach. You know, he's brought some more of his coaching team. I'm not sure totally on them, but he's also bringing some new caps as well. And obviously, Wales, a rugby nation, are trying to push for that to try and bring their women's team up to scratch, because they haven't been given their best performances out. But hopefully, it might be a good development Six Nations for them.
Yeah, I'd agree. So we're going to move on to we need a name for it. So if anyone's got any ideas for some names, basically we're coming up with, just a little fun name. So basically we're going to come up with 2 teams each. We'll have a subject every week and we'll put them on the stories and the pages of the socials, and people can obviously vote for team A, team B. Elliot took the Lions team. I reckon it was a fix. Obviously the voting was fixed, but obviously, I think
no, Stephen, someone didn't use the Ruck off to help their votes, did they, Stephen?
No, promise. So
no,
this week we are focusing on a current premiership underrated side. So players who do the job, do the dirty work, and never really get noticed. So we'll bounce off. So you give your loose head, I'll give a loose head, like that, and then goes on the socials that way. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, class. Nick Orterak, loose head.
I'm going for Ross Harrison, a loose head. No explanations, just good. Plays week in, week out. For sale. Yeah, I'd really rate him. Never got close to an England cap, but it seems to scrummage and carry well.
Akker van der Merwe. I hope I've said that right.
You have actually said that right. I'm going for Brian Byrne from Bristol. I think since Thacker's injuries, the Irishman stepped in quite well. Solid throw in. He scores quite a few tries off the back of mauls, which is good to see as well.
Aaron Painter. I think I've said that right.
Yeah, so I've gone for his Northampton compatriot. Is that the right word?
We'll go with that, Stephen. You've got your own vocabulary. Get it from
vocabulary.
Right.
Vocab degree. Yeah, good.
Vocab degree.
I've gone for Paul Hill. I think for anyone who saw him yesterday, the guy was a monster. Basically played at 12. Made about I would love to see his stats, but yeah, he's class. He seems to be performing. He had a little breakthrough with England a few years ago, but kind of fell off and people came in. But I think he might be back to his best.
For second row, I've gone with Aaron Kitchener, the brother of Graham Kitchener.
Yeah,
I've gone with player.
Yeah, I've gone for Dave Atwood. I think obviously he's an old boy. I think he could get into the England side with his form this year.
Partner in him, I've got Harry Wells, great player at the moment for Leicester, doing the nitty gritty. So,
yeah, I've gone for Chris Villey, the Dave Atwood's partner at Bristol, Pacific Island. It kind of gets overlooked because of how good Stephen Lewitiller and his other forwards are, but yeah, seems always like he's enjoying his rugby, I guess, which is good.
For 6, I've gone for Hanro Leonberg, if I've said that right.
Yeah, close enough. Not quite perfect, but close enough.
No, we're not all perfect like you, Steve.
I've gone for Tom Ellis from Bath. He's class. Like, he seems like he's been around for years, but always never seems to start things. Obviously, the back row is unbelievable. I'll fully turn into Ollie Ball. Yeah, Tom Ellis.
Will Evans at 7.
I was close to going for Will Evans. So I think he will potentially go on the England tour this year. He's tackling, he's well ahead of everything. I've gone for Dan Thomas from Bristol. I think he's Welsh. Potentially looking for the Wales. Obviously, they pride in their 7 shirt with Tipperick, Lydiate, and Warburton in the past. I don't think I've missed anyone vital there. Yeah, Dan Thomas.
Rowan Ackerman for my number 8 position.
Yeah, carries well, don't he? Staying at Gloucester, even though that's gone.
It's been a great addition to the pack at Gloucester and just gives them that extra bite up front.
I've gone for Hammer Liebenberg as well at 8. I've pushed him to 8 instead. I think we always look at Jasper Wiese at Tigers and how well he carries off the base, but so we've obviously, with his ban recently, we've got to see Liebenberg at 8, and he's carried ability off the back of a scrum going backwards sometimes can be crucial for any team, really. And I think for me, he's Tigers' captain next year if Tom Youngs retires. Next.
9, I've gone for Nick Phipps from London Irish. You know, he's come into his own the last few games, and he's showing a bit of quality there.
I've gone for Sales, soon to be Worcester's Will Chudley. Yeah, class signing for Worcester. Obviously, with them signing Willie Hines, he'll be a great backup for them. Obviously, with Francois HAAWK, yeah, from Worcester going at the end of the season, especially that's a 2 quality scrum half signings. But yeah, Will Chudley.
Number 10, I've gone for Billy Searle.
Yeah. Cheers. Now I've gone for AJ McGinty from Sale. The American. Don't see many Americans in the
Prem.
Can you think of anyone who's American? Sammy Manoa, was he American? He was at Saints.
Yeah, from Northampton. Yeah.
I don't think we've seen many. Obviously, the wing Tigers. Scully.
Yeah, Blaine Scully, that's one.
Americans, but I think the 3 we've just mentioned there were all class for the squad. AJ McGinty's obviously since we've signed. Robert Dupree, he tends to slot in at 10, but it's nice to see AJ McGinty still staying in. He's a very talented player, I guess, at 10.
11, Henry Purdy for me. Leicester Academy player. I think he may have had a stint in the first team a few times, if not the second team. Went away to New Zealand, came back, signed for Bristol, and his finishing has just been outstanding for Bristol when he made his debut, and still turns out his performances. So yeah, I've gone for Henry Purdy.
Yeah, and I'll go. I think he's probably got one of the. I've got Henry Purdy as well at my number 11, but I think he's got one of the most extraordinary stories about how left Tigers. I think he went somewhere. He did go somewhere else in the Prem, didn't he? Got released, and then he's got stuck at the Championship for a bit, and worked his way up.
I think he went to. I might be mistaken. He went from Leicester, got released, went to New Zealand, came back. Then he went to Coventry.
And they got a trial at Bristol.
Yeah.
And then recently broke the Bristol squad. He can play 11, 14, 13 fullback, so pretty versatile and does a job. And it's great to actually see him getting on with his career, I guess. 12.
I've gone for Dan Kelly, promising up-and-coming player. Last few performances for Tigers, he's been outstanding. His line breaks, he's running lines, and especially today, Sunday, against Newcastle, I think he's proven his worth.
And let's not forget he's only 19. Like, plenty of time to grow. Hopefully stay to Tigers. Obviously Irish qualified, played for the Irish under-20, so who knows what will go on for his career, but I know for one that he will be a first-team regular for Tigers. My 12 is Sam James. Obviously, missed the mullet. He used to have a little blonde flick at the back. Yeah, him and his brother. I haven't got his brother in, but his brother narrowly missed out. I think Sam James, I don't have a clue how he hasn't had an England cap. But yeah, he's just classed, like, defensively and attacking. For me, he should be in the England squad somewhere, and I think he should deserve game time there. But if he keeps doing what he does for Sale, I'm sure Eddie will come knocking on the door. 13.
I've gone for Sam James, just for the mullet, really. Class.
Yeah. And I've gone for Piers O'Connor at 13, Bristol. I think he's qualified for about 6 different countries, so take your pick. Yeah, he's unreal. Proper good. I don't know how much you've seen of him.
Not much.
Yeah, but he's class. Like, week in, week out, like 8, 9 out of 10 performances. Yeah, and it's just great to see, I guess. 14.
I've gone for Ollie Woodburn, got some experience now in Exeter in the first team for a number of years now. And, he just shows class when he's on his game. Yeah. Ollie Woodburn.
Yeah. I've gone for Josh Bassett. Yeah, it's pretty similar to Woodburn. Josh Bassett had a lucky break and play for England against Barbarians a few years back, but obviously nothing came from that. Carries hard, tackles well, everything you really want from a winger, scores tries, which is the main thing, I guess. Probably doesn't have the flair of Jack Noel, Anthony Watson, and all the current England players, but yeah, he's a solid, consistent guy at the least. And then finally, our fullbacks.
Luke Morahan.
You gone for Luke Morahan? Yeah, I've gone for Simon Hammersley. Obviously an ex-Newcastle Falcon, but moved to Sale and he's still playing well. still does his job. Obviously, I asked you to prepare these, but have you got like a DOR in mind, like of someone who you think's very underrated? Or is that quite hard to throw you on the spot?
No, you love doing that. And again, just to state our rules, bullying is not tolerated at the Ruck.
Do you want me to tell you mine?
Yeah, come on, Stephen.
So I've gone for Alex Sanderson. Obviously, he was at Saracens. We've mentioned him before. I think he's one of the best coaches in the game. Yeah, that's pretty much all I can say. Seems like he's taken sail on the right route, and I think he's a potential England manager in the future. Hopefully, not in the near future. I think he's doing well at Sale. I'd like to see him progress with them. Should we stick with that as the main manager, or have you got someone in mind?
No, we'll go with Alex Sanderson. I agree with that. I thought it was a really good DOR. Also, my captain, I haven't mentioned it yet. I've gone for Hanro as my captain.
I've gone for, I was going to say Hammer, but I can't go for the same as you. I'll go for Dave Atwood. Yeah, so if we basically what we'll do, Elliot will do, obviously. He'll design the two teams, put them next to each other. You can vote Team A, Team B. Obviously, we won't put names, so there's no bias because obviously I'm the popular guy. Yeah, and we'll put that on the socials. Get voting because it's 1-0 Elliot currently, and if I go 2-0 down, I'm quitting. That's not an official statement, I promise. Yeah. So pretty much coming to the end. Obviously, we like to keep these Monday night episodes short and sweet. You get to see our pretty faces and hear our voices. Obviously, builds up for the Wednesday episode with the guest. I'm quite excited for Wednesdays. I think it'll do well. I think the women's game is something that we need to address, but we obviously talk about that a lot. So catch us on Wednesday at 6 p.m. for CC's episode. And I think we've got quite a few guests and stuff lined up in the near future. So we'll get onto them and keep giving the episodes out. Obviously, quality over quantity, isn't it, Elliot?
It is, Stephen. Also,
but I think overall we've got some decent guests and everything lined up. Some really exciting, like saying how we've only been going a month. Is that a month? Would you say?
Fair enough.
Yeah, and we've already got links. Socials are doing really well, and we're enjoying it, which is the main thing. If anyone's got any guests, leave them in the comments. If anyone thinks we need to work on something, let us know. Obviously, I won't need to work on anything because I'm near perfect. But I think that pretty much covers everything for tonight's episode. So, Elliot, do you want to round us off?
Yeah, as always, if you like the episode, give it a like, give it a share, turn that notification bell on. Give us a like, give us a follow. Is there anything else? Give us a tweet. But you're waffling. So until Wednesday, we'll see you then. Good night.